Let's make some sunflower themed candles. I have a bowl of green wax here, scented in my sunflower fragrance, and this is going to be for my frosting later on when I'm ready to frost these candles. So that is the first thing I do, and then I set that aside so that will solidify a little bit so I can later on whip it. And here I have two containers. One has brown wax, one has yellow wax, and these are going to be for the sunflower embeds that I am getting ready to make. And I'm using the sunflower type fragrance from Sensella, of course. Here are my sunflower molds, and I'm just going to spread these out on my table. So I'm grabbing my container of brown wax and a pipette, and I am just pouring a little bit of brown wax into the center for the center of the sunflowers. After those centers had set up, I am now pouring my yellow wax into the molds. And I had just enough to finish them. After they had set up, I am unmolding, and this is what they look like. And for most of these, I am scoring them and then breaking them in half. And then I'm grabbing my drill and drilling a hole into the center of each one. And it will look like this. And then I'm just wiping off the residue from where I drilled the holes. And then I'm grabbing some of my square jars that I'm going to be using for these candles and just wiping out the insides to remove any type of dust or debris. Next, it's time to wick all of these jars. And to wick them, I place my wick inside of a straw, and then I put a little hot glue in the bottom of the jar, and I press the straw with the wick in it into the glue, and I press it down, and then when I lift up, just the straw comes up and the wick stays in place. And these jars, they get 2 wicks and they're at diagonals. So there's like one in 2 different corners. The reason I don't put them side by side and why I don't just put one wick in these jars is because of their shape. If I only used one wick or placed them side by side, I would have tunneling. So those corners wouldn't melt. So you would end up with like a tunnel with some solid wax that never melted. And then I'm placing a warning label on the bottom of each jar. And then it's time to start pouring my wax into my jars. As you can probably tell, I have a fan on because it's quite warm in there. So watch what happens when I go to pour that 3rd candle. I completely forgot that my fan was so close. Yeah, I was pouring directly into the path of where the fan was, right in front of my table, and it just made the wax spray all over the place. So I just had to do a little bit of cleanup. And I turned the fan off for the time being. And then I proceeded to pour the rest of my brown wax into my jars, and I filled them up about 2/3 of the way. And then I'm placing those wick bars on top of my candle jars to keep those wicks in place. After these had set up, I am removing the wick bars. And then I'm using my heat gun to melt just the top layer of the candles, and I'm placing 4 of those half sunflowers into my jars. I'm placing one half sunflower on each side. So remember that green wax I had showed you at the beginning of this video? It has started to solidify around the sides, but the inside is still liquid. So I'm going to start mixing this. You will notice that the color will lighten up quite a bit when you whip wax like this. I kept giving it a few minutes and then whipping it again and giving it a few minutes again. And then finally it was the perfect consistency. It looks so delicious and looks just like cake frosting. So I gave it a quick lick. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Don't ever do that. So next it's time to fill my piping bag with the frosting and start frosting these candles. I am filling the inside where the inside of the 4 sunflowers, and then I'm piping green wax on top of the sunflowers and in all 4 corners as well. And then I'm grabbing those sunflowers that I had drilled a hole in the center of them. I am feeding a wick through one of them and then placing it on top of the frosting. And then I am trimming my wicks. And apparently I did not record me placing the labels on the front of the candles. I don't know what happened to that footage. So this is the final product. You can see the little sunflowers peeking through on all 4 sides. These candles are available on my website right now at earthrella.com. Thank you so much for watching.